Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fintech Saturday show. I almost went into my usual rhythm there. How you guys doing? Tevis, what's up, man?
Yeah, doing good. Last week in Europe, and then I'm back in Canada.
Roy?
Other than being a day late for the show, it's
Don't
not too bad.
start whispering like him. Don't do that.
Okay, yeah, just messing with you guys. No, good. Good to be here. A lot of things moving in the market. It's going to be a fun conversation with you guys.
Yeah. Lots of fintech news this week for sure.
Yeah.
Which, thank God we switched the name, because it's not just SoFi that I want to talk about. Although there's a lot of stuff happening with SoFi. Looks like Robinhood and Coinbase and Nubank and so many other names have some pretty exciting news this week. So I want to bring that up while we have the time. That said, there were some comments from Anthony Noto, the CEO of SoFi, to kick it off, where he saw a tweet from Data-Driven Investing that talked about, I'll just bring it up here, the entire list of companies that match these three requirements. So essentially a screener here on market caps above 10 billion, have a 3-year revenue CAGR above 35%, with free cash flow margins above 35%. Nvidia, of course. I mean, why wouldn't they be? And then the shocking name on this list, Duolingo, right? So he's putting this out to have quite the nice sentiment towards Duolingo. But then Anthony Noto ends up retweeting this, says, "You mean no other fintech and no other tech company? Get some of that." Huh? What was this in reference to, guys? I had a hard time understanding this tweet. Maybe you guys had a different take.
Yeah, my guess, and it's just a guess, is that Noto did what sometimes I do: is busy day in the office. You're not, focused on what's happening on X. You got like a few free minutes. You pull up X, and you're like, "Oh, that's a cool post," and then you repost it, and you scanned it, but you didn't process all the data. So I'm guessing he saw those first two numbers and not the free cash flow margin, which of course SoFi would qualify for. So I like the extra engagement on X. That's good, especially the crypto stuff. But this is nice too. Even nobody's perfect, not even Noto.
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't a hidden message there, Roy? You sure he's not hinting at something, some Easter egg that we all missed?
I don't think so. That would be a tremendous leap. I think they'll get there at some point. But I mean, free cash flow and then free cash flow margin as well, to a lesser extent, isn't really what you use for banks, brokerages, that sort of thing. But
yeah. If you're ever moving loans from what's called held to maturity to held for sale, or any sort of change in that loan book, it's going to be negative free cash flow. So it's not a weakness for SoFi. It's just inherently in the business model.
Yeah.
Sorry, just trying to adjust my camera here.
Yeah, and they get it from both angles, from being a bank and also being a brokerage. So,
but if he read those first two, and he was just scanning it, for example, 3-year revenue CAGR above 35%. By the way, if that was the case, there'd be a lot more names on that list. A lot more. But do you guys think that he is trying to hold up a 35% revenue run rate going forward?
Yeah.
Tevis, do you think that that's feasible?
Those are two different questions. I think, is he trying? He's talked about the 20 to 30%. What is it? Return on invested capital, or there's one of these metrics that he keeps referring to, which is a 20 to 30% basically growth rate that he wants moving forward. For as long as it's feasible, I don't know, maybe with a loan platform business, it could be feasible for the next little while, but it depends on how far out you look. I think, yeah, over 35% CAGR is really something to be, it's aspirationally fantastic. So obviously he's going to be trying for that. I don't know how long they can keep that up, but we'll see.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's the thing is as the numbers get larger, it's harder to do even when you have favorable macro, even while things are going well. Benioff had a point with Salesforce is like, you can't grow an enterprise of that size, by like 30, 40, 50%, or not on a regular basis. So what SoFi has done in the past is very impressive, even especially considering the macro headwinds, but they can do it for a while. So like, what time frame do you think that is reasonable to expect that, or maybe not expect that, but think that it's possible, Tanner?
Yeah, I was going to say, if they want to get to 50 million members in 5 years, as they said back in May, I think it's definitely reasonable to assume that they are going to hold up a 35% growth rate. But that is a bold claim. Just going to the next piece of news really quick, because it might also talk about how they might accelerate revenue and improve their margins. This ended up coming out from Zero Hash. Zero Hash has raised $104 million Series D2 led by Interactive Brokers with participation from Morgan Stanley, SoFi, Apollo Global, and more. What did you guys think about this news, not only involving SoFi, but also the comments around Zero Hash's management saying they wanted the rounds not just from investors, but from customers and future customers? So, for example, IBKR uses Zero Hash. A Tasty Trade, which is on here, uses Zero Hash. There's a bunch of them that end up using them. And then Morgan Stanley, the same day that this was announced, 3 hours after, they announced that E-Trade was going to have crypto via Zero Hash. Do you think that SoFi, this is their route to start offering crypto? And how early do you think that we get it, if so?
Probably not quarter 1 or quarter 2, because those have already passed, Tanner. Sorry, I had to. No, I mean, like with the Morgan Stanley thing, I think that raises a really good point, that every single one of these are not investing just in Zero Hash because they're like, hey, venture's fun, this is what we do, but because of the underlying technology. Now, in addition to this, we also saw Public announce, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, that they, I think it was on Thursday actually, that they were actually switching from Backed to Zero Hash as well. So you have a lot of, pretty savvy companies that are looking to build that direction. And I actually love this for SoFi. Now, there are some things that they absolutely can and should build internally. I think anything that relates to crypto lending specifically, I'd like to see them build that out. But I would almost rather, with something like this, and we'll probably talk about payments here in just a second with Anthony Noda's reply to Bill Gurley. You don't have to build everything to be a successful company. Tesla and Elon Musk, famously, they're very vertically integrated, but there's times when Elon Musk would have been glad to partner with other people, and they're like, there's no partner, we can't get what we need, and so then they were forced to do this. Now, if you have a team that really isn't centered around like crypto, for instance, they brought over, of course, Flory and a number of others as well, for crypto to relaunch that crypto platform, which is going to look very different. But if that's not your core competency, if that's not something your company has been very good at, you don't want to just say, okay, well, we'll do it in-house. That'll be good for us long term. And then that means that you're starting like 3 years later than everybody else. So I think that this is a very smart, very savvy move. And I expect that, I mean, quarter 3 is over, essentially. So quarter 4, I do think that quarter 4, it's pretty likely that they relaunch. There is a possibility quarter 1 as well. But I think probably quarter 4 we're looking at this point. There, one other piece. I'm sorry, Tevis. There's I don't remember the name of the meeting, but there's a meeting that's coming up this week where they're talking a lot about regulation as it relates to crypto. So that could be the final piece. There are still a couple of pieces, I'm sure, out there that basically gives a final bit of confidence that banks need to basically jump on this. Of course, we saw Morgan Stanley jump too, so it's got to be really close.
Yeah, I hope that it comes soon. I wish it was already out, obviously. I think the part that is getting me a little nervous is just the same concerns that we always have, is just their speed to execute. I'm a little not let down, but just worried that, like, level 1 options was a Q3 to Q4 deliverable. Well, looks to be Q4 now. And if any of the things that Noto had called out for their timelines are not being reached, that's just not what you're going to see from some of their faster moving competitors. So I want crypto launched. I want it launched quick. I want that alongside level 1 options. I want that alongside many of the things that they've said that, are going to be released by end of year. Was hoping for some of those to be a under promise, over deliver type of event.
One of the things that we've been talking about for SoFi with regards to crypto, speculating on, is the possibility of an acquisition. And I'm not saying Zero Hash is going to be it, but if I'm thinking about an acquisition or I'm thinking about a partnership, there's really like 3 main reasons that you would do it. One of them is, of course, speed to market, right? And if you want to be keeping up with those timelines for Q4 and meeting the ambitions that SoFi management has for crypto, because they could turn on their brokerage like pretty soon. There's no major restrictions to turn on a product they had a couple of years ago, but they want to have this like grand re-entrance of all of these different product lines with crypto-backed loans, mortgages, and the stablecoin offerings and whatnot. So speed to market, I think, is something that Zero Hash could potentially be helping them with. Then, of course, you have, potentially knocking out a competitor, something that sort of meets their grand aspirations for the crypto relaunch. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know, Tanner, if you could pull up the last the press release with regards to Zero Hash, because that last paragraph I think was really telling when Zero Hash. Maybe we can read it together. But yeah, like people are saying in the chat, Zero Hash valuation is only $1 billion. Like, I think that's something that it really depends on how big crypto is going to be in the grand scheme of things. Even if Zero Hash is not like the target, it's going to be interesting to see. So
you
on the
said
last
near the bottom, sorry,
paragraph,
it's a 1 billion valuation with a Series D fund that they raised. 340 million. No, that wasn't it. That was back in 2022. But it is $1 billion.
104 million.
Thank you.
So somewhere here.
What are you looking for?
Well, basically, they speculated that an announcement was going to come soon. And I read it, and maybe I can find it, but it was towards the end of the press release.
For which company? Because there was an announcement from E-Trade.
No. It was in the Zero Hash news, but they were basically speculating that the announcement could come soon. So the CEO of Zero Hash, I have it here. Let me see. So let me post this. Let me share this. Share screen. Cool. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
So this is in the article here. I forget who published the article.
This is not a press release. This is the CNBC article. But yeah.
Yeah. So this is the initial, like, when the news dropped. And I think this is in response to CNBC. The Woodford is the CEO of Zero Hash, and he said he can't comment on whether Morgan Stanley or SoFi are also clients. He suggested announcements would be coming soon. So I think that's going to be interesting to see, because if SoFi does end up being a client or does end up integrating in a bigger way with Zero Hash, then that could be a hint for us in terms of how this will play a strategic part in their crypto re-entrance. But I mean, like you said it yourself, competitors are moving quickly, and right now we're coming into a time where we're going to have seasonal tailwinds for crypto, with the winter period generally being a boon. So I think it's going to be something to keep an eye on. I still think Q4 is going to be the quarter where they stick to it, but I'm not sure.
This was a post from Data-Driven Investing that suggested that because of this, SoFi is going to be using Zero Hash to bring, crypto trading and tokenized loans, and they retweeted this. They eventually went on to delete the post, so we only have this image now, but
which is even more interesting,
right? Because I'm sure whoever runs that account got a little slap on the wrist for going, like, what are you doing? Like, this is not announced.
Yeah.
Um,
Similarly, and go back to Sofi in just a second. There was a teaser from Venmo from a meeting that PayPal had. Somebody that worked for PayPal shared an image, and it happened to tease something that's not announced yet on Venmo. And then the confirmation was when that particular picture and nothing else was deleted. It's like, okay, yeah, that's coming.
yeah, I think are you talking about the one from from like the slideshow? Because I saw that.
Yeah, so it's Stash, Venmo partnership with
Yeah,
Stash.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there was like they were sitting and there was some announcement on screen. They took a picture of the event and on the screen in the background was Venmo Stash.
But yeah, like for some context for guys in the comment, essentially that's whoever's behind the account getting really excited and saying, "Yeah, this is awesome," and then they retweet it or they post it, and then legal comes and says, "Dude, what are you doing? You got to take that down." And that's exactly what happened, I think, with both of these.
Yeah, yeah. I'm overall excited for crypto. I think that it's a big change for them. I also think like Anthony Noda's made a lot of comments about the overall payment rails that crypto might, start to change and change the way payments are handled going forward. And he talked about being a big player in that in his reply to Bill Gurley's tweet. But it all just seems, very, very far out uh, BHAG type things, right? Like, I mean, early days of SoFi, I'm talking 4, maybe 5 years ago, SoFi's management was talking about SMB banking and being the primary for insurance, like insurance products. Those still aren't around. So I don't know even remotely how far away these types of payment products are. And by that point, will there not already be, significant rails that are established? That's the thing. Like it's not just them that's striving for these things. I mean, you're up against Stripe and potentially Adyen and PayPal and all of these other guys that are not wanting to lose steam in payments as well.
Yeah, I what excites me more on the crypto side now, it's the crypto investing will be a nice addition, not like, going to double or triple whatever their invest platform is. But,
I mean, it
what they
might
can
though.
do,
It might.
I don't think so.
But
Uh,
but think about this. They're not level 1 options right now. Imagine Robinhood's crypto volume versus their equity volume. I mean, it
yeah.
blows it out of the water.
So do you
Yeah,
think they're going to scale it faster or slower than the first time they launched it?
it should better be faster.
Well,
Yeah, like I mean, in terms of the adoption of the brokerage side, strictly speaking.
I think it'll be slower. I think it'll
Wait,
be
Okay.
because
are
people already have great platforms that they go to now.
are you
Crypto is
so you're
early.
talking okay, yeah, I was thinking like products and product launches,
Yeah, that'll be faster.
yeah,
No,
okay.
no. I mean the user adoption of SoFi. Let's say it's dropping a press release tomorrow and saying we now have crypto brokerage. It's going to be rolling out into your SoFi Invest platform. How many users will they acquire over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters?
So
I don't know
so
who
there's
goes to SoFi for crypto.
on that though, Tanner, like there are some people that are like still quite crypto averse, but are crypto curious. And so I've seen some people. I actually saw a post of this. I think today it was where somebody was talking about buying crypto on Venmo, and that they really like the experience. And I'm like, I mean, like they have it. You can buy just a few select names on Venmo and on PayPal, but like nobody's talking about it for a reason. But having the name of PayPal there, knowing how the platform works and everything, makes them feel really secure, and they're not overwhelmed with like 100 different choices. And so I think that's what SoFi offers is that yeah, they may get some people that are buying crypto anyway, like oh, I'm already on SoFi, I'll just buy it here. My money's here, why not? Which is true. But the other thing is there will be some that are crypto curious, but a little bit like just not comfortable going on any other platform, even like Coinbase. So they'll buy it from SoFi, but I think that'll be slow. I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah, I mean, you might not necessarily get people that are signing up to SoFi explicitly because their crypto brokerage side of the business is like so bleeding edge that nobody else is doing what they're doing. You're just going to get that ratio of members to products get a little bit more skewed because the majority of adoption is going to happen through cross-selling, is my thought. people who
Yeah.
are already in the ecosystem are now going to, tack on another product.
I think there will be that. I think there definitely will be that.
So let me ask you guys, like, okay, obviously it matters that they get crypto right, but at this valuation, is this like it better work because we're at, right around $30, or is it like, it's like a free call option at this point?
Well, based on the way that they handled crypto before, I mean, like, if you sign up to DCA in crypto, it's absolutely free, like these types of things. I think that they're going to slam it out of the park. I don't think that they're going to get it wrong. Like, that said, I don't think the $30 range has anything to do with crypto. I think it's just completely on the loan platform business and interest rates.
Yep.
So I don't think that's what's holding it up, but it will play a part in their actual financials. Like, I am still, well, I don't think that people will come directly to SoFi for crypto. I still think it might double the revenue of SoFi Invest, because SoFi Invest barely makes any money. I mean, it's like I forget what the math was before. It's like 6 million a quarter, something like this. Like,
Isn't it still losing money though, like as a segment?
Yep.
Mhm. You know what would help with that is level 1 options, but I mean,
Well,
I
yeah.
guess it's not important. Honestly, though, like what you said earlier, if we don't, it's not like the most important product at all. But like, if you're right, if we go back to that timeline post and we start seeing those be delayed even more, I mean, there needs to be a somebody held to account to that, and also that's really bearish because we're all expecting a acceleration in the cadence, especially with crypto too. But where I actually think that they have, and I actually would have been really bearish if this was like, hey, we're not doing this, we're just going to build it all ourselves. I'd be like, I don't know that they have the talent to do that, and they certainly don't have the time, even if they did. So I like this. Where I think that they can absolutely excel is basically if you look at BlockFi, which is where Flory came from. They did a lot of crypto lending, a lot of crypto products as well. They had some issues that were mostly not related to them, just who they partnered with, and eventually who they were bought out by. Eventually, they were bought out by FTX, which is like, we know what happened with them. It didn't work out well. And then also, if you look at Figure, of course, the founder of Figure is somebody that came over from SoFi. He's ousted, and they do crypto, not as much on the lending side. I mean, they do, but basically they use crypto. They use a cryptocurrency there to save a lot of time and also save quite a bit of basis points as well for their lending platform too. And so that's something that, of course, they can do very well. Fractionalization of corporate bonds and lending against that. There's a lot of things you can do on the lending side, which there are other players here and there that are doing that. But I think Noto is very right that banks like SoFi are very well positioned for that too. On payments, I'm skeptical. I think that there's a whole lot of competition out there. If they don't build it themselves, and then they have to do like this double redemption of changing USD to whatever cryptocurrency, and then on the back end as well, there's not a lot of margin there, not as much as you expect. It takes and when you don't have relationships with any merchants or anything like that, I don't know. It could work. If it works, it's a really, really good thing, but we'll just have to see what that actually looks like. But the nice thing is, I agree with you guys. We don't need it to work for there still to be massive upside still for SoFi.
I don't think anybody really cares about the crypto brokerage products. Like, let's be real. Okay, it's going to double SoFi Invest. It's like a drop in the bucket when compared to the loan platform business and others. And we're at that point now where it's not, 2021 anymore, or 2020. Like, you've had a nice development in competitor products for brokerage. So largely it's a quality of life feature or product to complete out their ecosystem for the brokerage. Now, what I will say is, I think what most people care about is the crypto brokerage product as a gateway drug to all of the deeper crypto stuff that they want to do, because that's really where they have a chance to pave some new path around some products that haven't been offered before or are not so broadly mainstream. Like this crypto-backed mortgages is an interesting idea. The stable coins, tokenization in general, like these are things that are being talked about right now that we don't necessarily know how they're going to work. But like for example, Vlad, has been talking about tokenization quite a bit, and Robinhood wants to do this in a serious way. And we're seeing a ton of stuff. Like we're talking about it with BM&R as well, like how institutions want to leverage Ethereum and how they want to build on the blockchain. Like this is the conversations that I want SoFi to be a part of, but they can't get there without having that just entry point, which is we offer brokerage for crypto.
Yeah. No, I think they want to play in a much deeper space, especially because they have Flory. Like these types of things are really good signs. That's an incredible hire. Like that's what I love from SoFi. But I just want things to be, fully released and working, because I see these tweets sometimes, they bug me so much whenever people get frustrated and fed up that a product has not come out, they've waited long enough, and then they switch over to Robinhood. And that doesn't matter too much on the brokerage side, but as Robinhood starts to get a lending platform, which you can say, hey, they're not the owner of the actual loans, they refer out home loans, that still takes away from the customer that could have gone to SoFi. So it doesn't matter the take rate of Robinhood, it matters what they take away from their competitors. So as they go to banking and as they come out with these new products, it does worry me that SoFi could shun away some of their more active customers, which is the interesting part, right? Is that the customers that are being attracted over to Robinhood are the most active. It's a pretty interesting business as well. I've got nothing poor to say about Robinhood. I don't think any of us do. Tevis maybe used to, but not anymore.
Yeah, I'm
No.
I'm wearing a Robinhood shirt. There's one behind me. The middle Miami Heat has a jersey patch.
I mean, look, man, if I had any Robinhood merch, I would rock it. But I think so like what I'll say to Tanner in response is like the flip side, dude, I want one of those hats so badly. Like I love the pun. Oh, that
when
one
you come to
too.
Houston, I'll give you one.
Do you want to see how far I took it today?
Yeah.
Do you know what shirt I'm wearing right now?
No.
Roy might be able to guess. He was there when I got it.
The Tom Lee shirt.
Oh yeah. No,
Boom,
Wow,
baby.
how did I guess that?
I don't know how you guessed it. I'm rocking BM&R right now.
Tevis is a
Wow,
genius.
that's
so.
crazy.
We should talk some BM&R too, by the way, in a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just gonna say, like, these tweets that Anthony Noto is making, like, stupidly euphoric, like, to the very edge of the spectrum of like, oh my gosh, he's so excited that like he's not even reading the full tweet before responding, giving props to SoFi. Like, it's that kind of stuff that makes me really like, that should be taken as an internal measure of how confident management seems around their business, because we've had Anthony Noto in the past, like, try to correct people on X and try to respond to like, customer service messages himself and try to talk people down off the ledge and all kinds of like the different sides of Anthony Noto. And like, that when he's super amped like this, especially in this way, that I don't know, I think there's good things ahead. And like they've showed in the last earnings call, but generally speaking, like there's some nuance there.
Yeah. And remember, even whenever I have these types of thoughts about SoFi, I still think like Q3 is going to blow away everyone's expectations on new member growth, on revenue, on products per user. Like, I think it's going to be a smashing quarter across the board. And that's what I also think that we need to remember is just like the market is so big. We're talking about one company that has 10 million users, another company that has 26 million users, or 13 to 26. And there's 400 million people to grab in one country. And then way more after that. Like, that's also the interesting part. So SoFi is going to do very, very well. I just want them to do well on all fronts, because that's what makes a super app.
Yeah, and I like, that's the nice thing though, is like, and I think it's brilliantly put by both you guys. Like, just on the banking and lending side, they have such tremendous tailwinds, such good execution as well. and what they're building and what they have built lines up exactly with what's being looked at right now too. So, I mean, they're very well positioned just on that. So everything else is gravy as far as I'm concerned. Crypto, I'm, like with the lending side and stuff in that core wheelhouse, I think is going to go well. But anywhere that they compete with, like if crypto was about the invest platform, like they're competing head to head with Coinbase, with Robinhood, with a lot of DeFi exchanges, and I would like, if that was their play, I'd be like, man, they'll get a little bit of volume, but like, that's like, why are they doing this? So I like that they're willing to partner with people and say, okay, we'll do this, with remittances, we'll do this with this type of crypto product, the zero hash stuff. But what's actually their core? I want them to focus on that. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Any
Josh.
other-
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw Josh's comment. Can you put that up? Because I think he hits the nail on the head. When a super conservative person becomes a little exuberant, means something. Almost always, yes. That's. I mean, you see it in real life too. If somebody is just keeps to themselves, pretty quiet, not over the top with emotions, and all of a sudden starts posting triple exclamation mark and fresh horses we ride. Of course, he's always done that. Something has changed. And we know at the very beginning of the year, Anthony Noto said this is the most favorable macro that he's seen for SoFi as a business. We see the way that he's interacting with others, what way he's speaking, the way he's communicating, what he's saying. This is a guy at the very least that's very excited. Does that help up the stock? I think so.
What's funny is I was going to make a video on this, but one of the things that Upstart, or they just updated their UMI, their Upstart macro index, and it actually climbed higher, which is bad for Upstart personal loans, which can be a bad sign for SoFi as well. But one of the reasons why it climbed is they said that customers' credit was improving faster than they would have thought, which means that Upstart might get priced out of a market because their strength is to identify a user's ability to pay back without it being, a signal that the rest of the market can see. But if the rest of the market can see it, then they are going to get priced out because the larger banks and financial institutions will, underwrite them appropriately. So that's just one of the things I think is very interesting is UMI came up a little bit up this month, but it's actually potentially a good sign from SoFi because that's the market that they deal with the most. Now, these are still small scale, like the customers that Upstart sees is not the greatest indication of the entire market, but still, it usually does correlate pretty well with what we see from SoFi. Yeah, and that's something that I think will be very interesting. Like you said, Anthony Noto gets really hyped up. I cannot wait to see what the loan platform has done, what wholesale, like their wholesale loans and what they've sold, what they've securitized. It's going to be very interesting this quarter because we've never really seen an environment like this, especially with the Fed not just coming out and saying, hey, we're doing 25 basis points and we'll see what the market holds for us going forward. No, what they actually said was we're going to do 25 and we're very certain we're going to cut another 50. It doesn't mean they are going to, but they're already giving clarification that they're going to cut another 50 and then potentially 25 basis points in 2026. Meaning,
Do we now start a timeline or a countdown till the next earnings? They're end of October, right?
yeah, October 29th.
So okay, so it's 4 weeks away basically.
Start a countdown?
Well, no, I know that SoFi SoFi tends to rally leading up into earnings in anticipation of the triple beat, and it's been really quiet. I don't know. Like I saw this post from Stockgoat, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for putting that up." I saw a post from Stockgoat, and he was like, "It's been really quiet for the last 3 weeks or so. We haven't had any press release since the Josh Allen news dropped." I don't know.
Yeah,
I found that interesting.
They're not in a
They're
blackout.
not in a blackout.
No.
No.
But hopefully soon. Well, not hopefully soon, meaning we're close to earnings. But yeah, we still get about 2 or so more weeks where they can release material news. And then he'll be on his press tour and doing podcasts with everyone like he usually does, Anthony Noto. I'm just kidding. We might see him on a fireside after earnings. Who knows? Was there any other SoFi news that I'm forgetting before we can move on to some other names that were talked about this week?
I think that we hit the main items, so I think that's good.
Do you guys think that crypto, or sorry, SoFi is going to return above $30 either this week or next?
I would say no. I think that we were actually like on the cusp of a pullback. Now, SoFi will be, it's been pulling back with it. And it may take, a few weeks just for the market to, and we see this actually, it's pretty common, like before earnings starts ramping again, that the market does really well after a great earnings and then pulls back some. Of course, there's seasonality as well with some of that too. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're under 30 for a few weeks. It's not a huge deal. Honestly, given with what I expect that they'll probably do in the third quarter, if we're under 30, we might go back right above 30 there, or to 11. We'll see.
Something would be really, really bad for it to pull back like a lot in this environment.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll see anything like that.
There's bears out there that really think that. I saw one on PayPal today that was like, "Oh yeah, PayPal is going to pull back to like 33." I'm like, I don't think that there's many companies that are going to generate a free cash flow yield of 25% and a growing top and bottom line that pull back to that point. So yeah, I don't know.
Just a really quick piece of news here. Michael Riani here ended up leaving Coinbase, talked about the 3 large ads that he was a part or that he was happy to be a part of. So Bitcoin backed loans, Coinbase One card, which was really interesting, and then the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve at Coinbase where they buy up Bitcoin. He then went on to, as you might see by this color here, join Nubank as the head of crypto.
Oh man, I missed this. Awesome.
Very, very interesting. So huge name in the crypto space, in the crypto development space. Joining Nubank that has, the largest customer base outside of Asia for any fintech, and potentially they could be looking into a bunch of different things. Nubank is poised to lead in Bitcoin and stablecoins, decentralization, artificial intelligence.
He says, "This is not a bank." Can you bring that back up?
Yes. Sorry.
This is not a bank that's incrementally better. It's fundamentally different. That's a good way to describe Nubank.
It's true.
It is.
I'm a huge believer, as many know, in Nubank. I'll be here forever. They've got some of the, the greatest. Leadership's changed a lot, so I'll say they have the greatest founder, one of them of all time. So I'm there for a long time. But does that get you guys interested at these prices?
Well, I already have a good chunk of Nubank, so
do you?
Still interested? Yeah. No, I've got a bunch of shares. I bought a lot more when we went to like 12 and 11. I'm like, it's all geopolitics stuff. You're always going to have some of that with Nubank, but I actually bought a ton of vertical spreads when it was trading much lower. So, and I also had a bunch of leaps already that sadly I bought those like at the $14 or $15 range before we fell. So they're like basically even right now, but oh yeah, tangible price, TBV. That's all that matters because they're a bank, right?
Yeah, their price to book right now is about 8 times. What's SoFi's? Not just on a tangible book value, just in general, 4.8x.
I wish Steve was here. He'd be like, "Why would I buy that over Wells Fargo?" And then like throw up a spreadsheet.
I think he took a look. I thought he was going to hate it the first time I showed him, and then I did show him, and he was like, "Yeah, it looks great. I don't buy outside of the United States," or something along these lines.
Yeah,
he had some geopolitical reason to not buy it, which is fair.
That's one of those companies that I'm like, with all the other fintechs I own except for Robinhood and also Nubank, there are scenarios where I'm like, yeah, I'm probably, I might sell out of that position, assuming a lot of stuff happens, where they start stumbling and leadership changes and those sort of things. Nubank's one of those where I'm like, I think I just hold that. Like 20 years out, I'm still holding the stock and everything. That's why I bought Leaps too, so I can have some profit on the way up, sell that, and just hold those shares. It's a great company. They're positioned so well. There's such TAM left in front of them, and they do a great job of actually overachieving what the TAM potential is. So,
Yeah. And then like just going off of that, to talk in a space and be like, hey, we have 60% relationships with all of Brazil adult population, which is even a funny way to describe it, because that's not how David Velez thinks of the company. He thinks that anyone above 7 years old is their customer, not adult population.
which is awesome. I mean, and like realistically, that is one of the things that banks can do very well, is that you establish a banking relationship at an early age, and that continues. And unless there's a reason to actually change, a fundamental reason, some will. A lot just stick around. I'm actually I still am looking to move fully over from Wells Fargo. I have a tiny amount of money there, but I got into that relationship, because of my parents way back in the day. So easy vertical for them.
But like, these are the things that I just wish that like SoFi, I'm like still waiting. Like, how long ago did they talk about wanting to put out youth accounts and teen accounts? And then Galileo puts it out. And it's like, okay, so you have the tools to operate teen account. Like, why? I don't even understand why remotely you delay this by a day. Maybe someone else could tell me that, because maybe I'm just completely I don't know a thing. But like, just imagine if they have that product and they don't even push it at all. Like they don't try to educate the user that they have it, but if people are really looking, they can find it and use that product. I don't see why that's not available, immediately.
Yeah.
For which product?
Teen accounts, youth accounts on SoFi.
I mean, I think that's just like a general principle, man. Like, regardless of what the account is, like, I don't understand the idea around holding off to do a bigger launch or to do something like like just launch something and then iterate on it. Like, I hated the idea of a crypto wait list. Like, why? Just be like, hey, crypto's coming back in the brokerage side. We have some other things coming out soon. And like, just roll the things when they're ready to be rolled out. Like, why would you deprive your users of something so that you can have a bigger grant entrance? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not like this is, it's something that all of your competitors already do. And you had this before. Your users who are still in your ecosystem of 5 years remember it. They had it in their invest app. Like, just roll it out, dude, and then roll out other products afterwards. Like, it's not like, I think the upside is far outstripped by the downside of doing that strategy.
Yeah.
So the one thing, like I agree with you guys, but the one thing to push back on just a little bit is because of their banking license, and also the way that they achieved that. It was right there with, was it the OCC? They had a signed legal agreement that indicated that they had to divest from their crypto platform by a certain date. Now they did it earlier, but most banks, even, they might have all the other regulation, but they don't have a charter that explicitly says, contingent for their charter, you need to cease pursuing any crypto activities at all. Now, probably they've achieved permission to go ahead and or they're, at least they have to be close to that. But I'm not saying this is all their fault. Now, I do think a good bit, like level one options, obviously is not a regulatory thing. We've talked about it before. Jeremy Rochelle, he's a problem. I think that they need a fresh start and a fresh change at CTO. I think Flory would be a very good CTO, depending on the direction they go. But if it's really a lot of crypto-related products, she would be good. Derek White would be good. Miguel Santos, or maybe it may make sense to go to the outside too if they need to.
Yeah, I don't know Jeremy Rischel, so I can't say that he's the problem. Like, who knows? But yeah, maybe teen accounts adds another layer of complexity because they're, children or whatever. But secured cards, I cannot see that being a problem. There's products that Galileo has that they've had for probably over a year now. What are we talking about here? Like, how are we still pushing customers to Chime and all of these? Are the unit economics that much better to push someone to another ecosystem than to keep them on your own platform. I'd rather them have a worse margin and 60% of the user base of like you know what I mean? Like, I like that fact that Nubank doesn't just go for the money every time. They're going after the users. You can cross-sell them later.
I mean, look, we've discussed this time and again, and the more time passes, the more I am sort of set in this justification that all the products that don't exist yet are as a result of a decision that was consciously made by the leadership team and not as a deficiency of talent, because the talent pool exists and all these companies pluck from the same talent pool of engineers out there. And you can see engineers going from Coinbase to Nubank, and from SoFi to PayPal, and all of they all move around. But management has also said that, like, why would we work on, in this case, let's say teen accounts? They haven't explicitly mentioned teen accounts, but I'm just using it as an example. Why would we work on teen accounts when we can allocate developer resources on, loan platform business or whatever, this other thing that gets us a higher ROI?
It was like a year ago that we started catching in their careers pages that they wanted help, or they were hiring for people to come onto the SoFi checking product to help with CDs and to help with youth accounts. So where are both of those? Now, the things that they can work on can change. I get that, but I don't know. If you're working at SoFi checkings, you're not helping out the lending platforms, or at least I wouldn't imagine so. So all the work that they're doing at the lending segment, what are the people who are banking doing during this time? I mean, I'm sure they're not, going from department to department like this. I can't imagine. I've never, been an engineer in that way, but I know from Robinhood, like the people who do options work on options, and the people who do their crypto side are crypto guys. They're not helping and rotating staff over for the crypto guys to start, working on a new equity product.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, like there's going to be specialized resources, and then there's obviously like the one size fits all, like jack of all trades type of engineers that can jump from any platform. If they're working on back end, then they're working on back end. So I don't know. Like, I think that, well, I guess one of the things that comes to mind, Tanner, is like, if something were to happen from a regulatory perspective, from legislation or whatever, or some external catalyst forced SoFi's hand, how quickly could they get a move on? And I think crypto resurgence is the biggest example of that, because you had the administration move incredibly fast on crypto, and we speculated that SoFi would have this up and running in like a week or 2 weeks after everything was greenlit. And now it's been like a quarter or 2 quarters after it's greenlit. And so, like, I don't know. This is why I'm more so of that startup mentality of like, just ship and iterate later, as opposed to doing a grand rollout, because that grand rollout is very emblematic of something that's more waterfall and just more like established legacy laggard type of company. And I don't love that, for SoFi's innovation. I think that if they do that, it's going to compound negatively over time, and they're going to get lapped from a product perspective. I mean, they already are in many areas lapped from a product perspective.
Yeah. Anything to add, Roy?
I don't know if I should or not. Probably not then. No, I've talked about, Jeremy Rochelle, my thoughts on the culture, the execution, the speed. A lot of things are going right for SoFi. That's still something I think needs to change. Now, maybe once the back end technology, as far as Technisys, Galileo, all that's finished, which should be this year, if we might see a resumption as far as a cadence of the ship speed. If we don't, he's got to go, or Noda's got to go, which I would hate. That would be terrible. Somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to be brought on. There has to be a change, because if you're hiring people, you have these projects, you have this roadmap, you have these ideas, and things just are not getting done. They're getting done at half or a quarter speed as other companies. That's just not good enough.
Yeah. Anthony Noto said during the Zero Hash thing, I wanted to read this out earlier, but didn't remember at the time. Blockchain is a technology supercycle that will reshape financial services and make it faster, cheaper, and easier for people to interact with money. We're pleased to support Zero Hash's continued growth and accelerate the adoption of crypto, stablecoins, and tokenization across mainstream finance. I think that we'll see a part of all of that in SoFi's future roadmap. Trading of cryptocurrencies, international payments. There's been job opportunities for not just member to member, but peer to peer payments. A lot of that's probably going to be done through stablecoins, and tokenization is obviously going to be very good, especially for what Anthony Noda said, like, privatizing credit and making it something that you could buy as easy as fractionalized stock purchases. Buy $1 of, a bond or something like this. So it's pretty cool. I love the thing, but I think Anthony Noto's aspirations are faster than the team is actually moving.
Yep.
And I think that's been the way it's
a good
been
way
for
to put
some
it.
time.
Yeah.
I think Noto's a nice guy, a very good leader, but at some point you have to make a change. You just have to.
But then again, we don't this is why I would love to see some more from these types of people, and like why I've benefited so much from going and meeting the teams of Robinhood, because it's not like the team is not Vlad, but you get to meet the leaders of each individual segment. Like whenever I see Robinhood's team in my head, I don't just picture Vlad. I'm sure a lot of people do, but I picture this Avengers team of, Saroon and Danica and just a lot of the I'm trying to think of all their names and I can't right now, but there's a lot of them. I met like every single one of them, and they're all superstars, all of them. I want to see that from SoFi, and I wish so badly that we could have an investor day or something and get invited out and meet these people, so then I could, better understand who's running the company. And I bet that would be good for the analysts as well, to actually see not just talk with the CFO and the CEO, but also meet with many of the team members.
Yeah,
Dude,
and I know that they have many incredible members out there too. But one thing, like, just we're familiar with Robinhood. We have that level of interaction. Like, you see, even if they had no events or anything, that they give many of their team like opportunities to shine. With those, we saw, of course, on full display there in Vegas with the events. But like, when's the last time that we heard from the CTO of SoFi? I don't think
know.
this year at all. Like, I know he's working. I know he's doing stuff. And maybe he's doing great, and that there's some other change that needs to be made. I don't know. All I know is we're like, okay, here's the roadmap. Here's the execution. And there's some sort of pit, hole, wall, something that we don't understand. We can only guess at, because we're in the dark. But I don't know. They're in a great place as a business. We're not bearish on SoFi, but it's good to, I think, be objective with investments. And that's something that if there's no change over the next year, and they continue to ship very slowly, it's like, well, it's still positioned to do very well from here over the short term. That's when long term I'd have to say, okay, what percent do I want SoFi to be in my portfolio? Because I have these options that expire in January 2027. Is like, how many of those, like right now I'm of the mindset, if they accelerate, if they start doing some of the things that I expected they'll do, I'm going to exercise a chunk of those. I'm not going to sell all of them. And so I'll hold a lot more shares. But if it's the other way around and there's like very little execution for the next 15 months, well, maybe I'll just sell the options and keep the shares in.
Dude, Roy, it's funny, like you mentioned, when was the last time we've heard from the CTO of SoFi? So I just checked his X real quick. He has 1,400 followers on X. He's never really never posted anything, and his only posts have been replies. His last reply was in 2024, talking about fiction novels, and the one, like literally one post, and then the one before that was 2022. So I mean, you don't see that with a lot of actual, cutting edge tech company CTOs. Like, they're out there, and there's a lot of CTOs that we could probably name that are equal status in terms of their reputation and like awareness than their CEO counterparts. Like Shopify is one that comes to mind. A lot of these tech companies, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It's so weird. I was just like, as you guys were talking, I was sitting here thinking, like, is it a foregone conclusion with us because we've been doing this pod for so long that any conversation that's consistently about SoFi for longer than 30 minutes, we turn super critical about the company just by default? Like, it's baked into anything that happens. It's like all roads lead to, we find something to be critical about.
So I mean, like, to use a sports analogy, Texas Rangers, love them. They're out. Pretty terrible year, but like you can, when you're following, when you're a fan, and even more so, like, we're invested, like, with real money in this company. I think it's a fair thing to not just be like, Texas Rangers are the best and they're going to win every game and they do everything perfect, but instead realize, okay, there's things that they don't do well, going with both eyes open. But even more so with investment, because your own money is on the line. You actually own some of the company. And so I don't think it's over the top to be like, okay, there's all these things that they're doing really well. And then there's these things that they're doing really well that the market just has no idea about yet. And then there's this huge potential here. And we have questions of whether they're up to it or not, to execute and really realize their full potential. So
I'm doing my best here, Roy. The sports analogies, no, I do get it. I'm caught up.
And on Jeremy Rochelle, like, the communication thing, like, that's
like, bro, I'm not that dumb. I know that that's not a basketball team. That's a football team. I'm almost certain.
So, usually a CTO wouldn't necessarily be an earnings call. Sometimes they are. Sometimes, often actually, with major tech, they're on X and active. But if not, they're active on LinkedIn. And I mean, even that, this is from 2 years ago. That's his most recent post. Now, he does have comments that are a little bit more recent, but between that and the cadence of things that are being shipped, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think he's the guy. I think that they need to move on and get somebody that fits what they're actually looking for. And so if I could be completely wrong. We're in the dark here, but yeah.
Yeah,
And somebody had thought that I was saying, like, fire Noto or getting it. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. The CTO is not Noto.
Okay, yeah, but like, I think with it's like, I don't want to pick on just Jeremy Rischel, because a lot of their leadership team, like even Lauren Stafford Webb, like, yeah, she's more out there, but even she, like, does maybe one post every couple of months, and it's like a retweet of something that the SoFi brand out, and like, that's their chief marketing officer, like, so my point is like, I think it has to come down to, this is really interesting because it ties back to a conversation that Roy and I were having around the Alex Chris hiring, like, what was it, Roy? Like a chief social media marketing person for the office of the CEO. So like a brand strategist, essentially, for the CEO becoming a influencer or a thought leader. And I think some companies are doing it where their CEO is front and center taking requests, and their executive team is well known and they share their opinions. Like Tesla's like prime example of this. I can name you 5 or 6 of Tesla's like leadership team that are on their AI departments, their Optimus teams, or on XAI, whatever, that like people follow them on X because they drop news that's not in a PR, that's not in official company forums. But there's other companies where it's like, hey, everything is streamlined through 2 channels. And one of those channels is our investor relations page. And the other channel is, our CEO on Twitter. And like, that's the case of SoFi in many ways, right? So I don't know. I think it should come down to an internal company communication strategy. And that, I think, branches out to all of these different paths. Like, do they want to have an investor day? Do they want to have an active leadership team on social media? Do they want to have all of these like thought leadership pieces, so on and so forth? And it surprises me that they don't have it, but I think that if the internal PR team had a mandate to increase the awareness, then you would see all of them uniform be instructed to post more. So it's not a Jeremy Rischel problem. It's not a Lauren Stafford Webb problem. I think it's like an internal SoFi comms problem.
Yeah.
We have beat this horse to death. I'm trying to wait for one of you guys to stop, though.
That was my bad. I almost didn't say anything.
But you're
and I
still
didn't.
just let me take it to the. You don't
Okay,
need to
go.
apologize.
I'm
What
done.
do you guys think about Shift 4? Ugh.
It's well, so almost all payments companies are kind of in the doldrums right now. They're PayPal, of course, classically. Block has come under some pressure as well. Fiserv, the market right now is convinced payments are just not where it's at, and so Shift4 is sharing in that despite their excellence. So
I'm so surprised though, because what is stablecoins or any of this talk going to change for in-restaurant card present transactions? We are a long time away from getting a new card that's issued by Circle.
and to think that non-payments companies are just going to jump in, immediately and ramp without all the KYC issues, compliance issues, regulatory issues, like it's very short-sighted, especially like the weirdest thing to me is MasterCard and Visa like coming under pressure too for the same reason. It's like, is there some impact ultimately on margins? I think so for Visa and MasterCard. A little bit for PayPal on the cross-border stuff on Shift4. Well, yes, and ultimately, actually, that's really good for the consumer or merchants, really, and then the consumer. But that's so far away.
Do you know,
sorry, is just clarifying question. Is Jarek Eisenman gonna? He's like fully stepping down, right? Like, sorry, that's a dumb question. Like, I know he was doing my Shift4 knowledge is like stuck in April. He was doing the administration thing that fell apart, and he was going to step down as a result of that. Now that he's back and he's not doing that anymore, is he still stepping away from the company operationally speaking, or is he like full on CEO mode again?
No. So he's here's the thing. From what I heard at the investor day, not giving away any employees' names, they said he's been kind of, stepped away for some time.
Checked out.
Taylor's been running the business for a long time. He was always the president, and Jared Isaacman the CEO. Now Taylor's the CEO. Jared Isaacman's the chairman of the board. So they said that he still meets with them for multiple hours. He's still on their email list, like distribution list and everything. And if he sees something come across his desk, he will speak up, and he's active in that way. Like if he's like, hey, what's going on? So any large transaction, big change to the business, anything along those lines is not going through without approval from Jared Isaacman. But he's not the CEO anymore, and currently he's like unemployed in between jobs. And also, he just recently purchased like 16.3 million shares or dollars worth of the company.
Let me do it this way. So I don't know if you saw or heard of this, Tevis. I know, Tanner, that you have. This is a letter that was put out by Piper Sandler on Robinhood. And of course, they raised the price target to 140. That doesn't really matter. What I thought was really interesting is the rationale that they did. They basically went in, they said, predictions markets are doing just such ridiculous things. That's the reason for the upgrade. And so a couple of numbers, as they said, Robinhood users are 25 to 35% of Kelshi daily volume. And I think this is the one. Yeah. This is showing
what company are we talking about? Robinhood now?
Robinhood. Yeah. Robinhood is partnered with Kelshi. Thank you for asking. This is probably a little bit harder to see, but you can see, of course, this is the election, and then Kelshi has ramped up. Piper Sandler estimates 25 to 35% of the volume on Kelshi. So they did 728 million in volume last week is on Robinhood. And so based on that, they're like, okay, this product is already over $100 million run rate. And it's looking like it may be actually in excess of that, over $200 million run rate in September. And it's just like, this is a product that didn't exist a year ago.
By the way, guys, he's talking about Robinhood, not Shift4.
Yeah, sorry.
So can you throw up the chart again, Roy? Let me ask this. And this is just, again, gut reaction, first time seeing this. With Kelshi volume spiking that heavy, I mean, I think it's very safe to say Robinhood is the one that's driving that volume. I understand
I don't know if that's guaranteed, but
sure, correlation, not causation, whatever. They're happening at the same time. let's just assume it's Robinhood driving a big chunk of that volume. I understand the initial partnership with Kelshi, but why wouldn't Robinhood just do their own thing so as to not give a slice to Kelshi in the future? And so that's the first question. The second question is, do we now think that Polymarket is going to partner with some other, competitor here to try to compete? Because they're losing market share right now.
Yeah, everybody seems like they're partnering with Kelshi. Regulators tend to have a lot more scrutiny to Polymarket, which is a foreign entity instead of Kelshi. And I think that the reason why Robinhood to date has not done more than a partnership, and I don't think that they will actually, maybe ever is a long time, but at least for a long while, part of it is regulatory stuff. That's like, oh, we're just partnering with Kelshi, to offer this product, like many others. Actually, a lot of brokerages are going this way. So it insulates them some. Now, Robinhood has joined Kelshi in some of the lawsuits, basically suing some of the gaming councils. I can't remember the term for certain states. There's 4, I believe,
Gaming
lawsuits ongoing. Yeah, the gaming commission. Thank you. So we'll have to see the direction that goes. But like the thing is, well, so the other part of this too is like it's just an easy accretive product that Robinhood could roll out. They don't have to have a special team to figure out, like what they should offer and how, and that they can't show the NFL names. All that stuff is just basically taken care of by Kelshi. And then they offer a platform where people already have their money on it. So the expenses are, it's a cent per each contract. Yes, if they did it themselves, vertically integrated, they'd save some money. But I think that Robinhood wants to be intentionally lean as far as their team, that this is one of those things where it makes sense. Because like sports and stuff is not like a core competency of Robinhood. And so I think it just makes sense to make this platform, the user interface, as good as possible. At this point, they're doing it. It's not a question of should it be a separate app or not. It's on the app. And just partner with Kelshi, and of course, partner with them as it relates to the regulatory stuff. So there's so many other things for them to focus on. I think it makes sense to outsource this.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think that Robinhood just understands that speed to market is so freaking important. Same way that Shopify understood this. And so if they're following at all in Shopify's footsteps, Shopify partnered very early on for a lot of their like other value-added services, and then eventually created it in-house. So they could be partnering with Kelshi and working on their own system in the background, and then just swap. And that's the great thing about owning the customer, and why I actually think that banks and financial institutions are such a great business, because you own the customer better than any other business in the world has a relationship with their customer. You hold all of their money. Okay. So their ability to cross-sell out and partner with companies for a little, like even SoFi, get in close with Zero Hash, create a great product, work on your own platform in the background, and swap it out when needed. I think that's perfectly fine. That's probably what Robinhood will do. They've got 27 million users today. Maybe it's 50 million down the line. That's enough to create your own platform. And then there'll probably be some product that ends up getting created by Kelshi or something. The interoperability across all of their own platforms, the Polymarkets, the Kelshis, what have you.
Yeah. Like the other piece of Robinhood news was that they launched their bank initially for some external customers. So, it was a Q4 type thing, Q3, Q4. So it's launched officially. I did see some chatter on there, which, circles back again to SoFi, of some people that are like, I just keep moving my businesses over to Robinhood. And many people are like, okay, I already got the credit card, used to use SoFi card. Already have switched over for the brokerage. I've switched over for banking. How big do you think that the banking is going to be, like the rollout for Robinhood? Do you think it's going to be like a credit card where it's a slow rollout, or it's a little bit more aggressive? And then do you think SoFi is really in danger here from the banking offer from Robinhood?
I think we'll see. I also think that SoFi, whenever there's heat put on them, is usually whenever they work a little bit harder. So like,
Yes.
They were not pushing out upgrades to their credit cards until Robinhood ended up putting out a credit card. Then they pushed out a bunch of new credit cards. They increased their cash back from 2%, but then it went up to as high as for new customers 3.3%. So it could be 10% higher than Robinhood's. So I don't know how much it will actually be detrimental to them. How big will it be for Robinhood? I think it's going to double their business. I think banking will be as large as brokerage. And not only that, I think that the rollout will be pretty fast. The only problem is I wonder if the part that might suck for them is, once again, the partnerships with something like Coastal Community Bank. That this is the thing that SoFi does so well, and many people forget this, is every third-party connection that you have is third-party risk. And if you're working with a slower, smaller customer, that can be a problem. It's why Apple had to stop working with, what was it? Not Amex, but was it Morgan Stanley? Goldman Sachs? Which one was it?
Goldman. I think it was Goldman.
Yeah. It's just like, if Apple did that on their own, obviously they can't. They don't have the regulatory approval to do this. But that's the thing that might hinder them, is that they don't have the licenses. SoFi already does. And the thing that might have...
but like, you're saying two things that contradict, though. Like, on one hand, you're saying that Coastal is going to be the rate limiting factor of Robinhood's expansion into banking, because they're just not going to be able to handle that volume. And on the other hand, you're saying that banking is going to be large enough to compete with brokerage and double their business. Like, those two things don't reconcile in my mind.
I think that banking, just as a total addressable market, and the customers that they're dealing with, can double their market. But I still
by what? AUM is what you're talking
by
about?
revenue. AUM, absolutely not. Brokerage is way, way larger. This is another thing that I was arguing with Amit about. Like, he looked at Robinhood and goes, look at their AUM, look at SoFi's AUM. They're not equal. Yeah, because where people, like, you only need to keep so much in your checking account. You need to keep a lot more in your brokerage. So your brokerage is supposed to be 100x, 1000x, 100,000x a lot larger than your checking account, but transactions and all of these things really do add up on a per revenue basis. So banking, just as a TAM, the largest financial institutions are not brokerages. They're banks. JP Morgan, Bank of America, like, it's banks that place themselves at the list of total market cap. Okay, not brokerages. But that being said, I'm just wondering, I don't know if Coastal Community Bank has dealt with a customer as large as Robinhood. So they might need to shop around for a bit and find the right partner. Maybe it is Coastal Community, but 27 million customers is a lot of customers to start with.
Yeah, I know that Coastal, I don't remember who now, but there were several other, I don't even know if they're brokerages, but partners with Coastal as well. So, like, I've had in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wonder if part of the reason why the gold card, which does look like it's accelerating again, has been slow and deliberate, is at least because of some constraints on that end. That's why I asked the banking question. It's same partners, so we'll have to see. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be good for the ecosystem benefits. I don't think it's going to necessarily double their business. I think it's going to be good for, like, the subscriber business. If they can throw in some subscriber benefits there, then they can close that ecosystem loop. Like, similar to how we're talking about SoFi and crypto, as how I see Robinhood and banking in terms of the ecosystem benefits for their core users. But the value proposition is fundamentally different, because for Robinhood's brokerage and for SoFi, it's not the brokerage. And so, like, I see these as complementary products because their fundamental, like, value proposition is different.
No, they
So
absolutely
it surprises
will
me
not.
when you say
This will not happen, by the way. They will not get a bank license. Sorry, go ahead.
That was it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just look at the average revenue per user on SoFi with no brokerage revenue. Look at the average revenue per user on Robinhood with only brokerage revenue. I don't know. It could be very beneficial for them. And also the customer size, especially that's coming onto Robinhood lately, for them to get a checking account would be great. And whenever I said 100,000x checkings, I wasn't meaning, me and Roy and stuff like this. I'm talking about Tevis whenever I say 100,000x. So yeah.
The Pope's financial advisor.
You're saying I have like 10 cents in my checkings account, basically.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Shall we wrap there?
No. No, I
Oh,
don't
we're
want
not
to
doing
wrap.
an after hours. We're not doing an after hour session today.
This is a public after hours.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
All right. Yeah, we can do. We can do that. Yeah. You get you're serious, Tanner?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay. So just as a quick segue, guys, if you are members, usually we do the after hours. We'll post that a little bit later. This time we're going to do it actually live, so you kind of see what you normally get. Now, for me, these guys, they're great supporting. If you're not a member of any one of us, you know, probably those guys will do a little bit more than I do. But thank you guys for your support regardless. And usually we shift gears away from fintech as well, though there's a little bit of fintech I do want to talk about. But what do you guys want to talk about for the after hours? BM&R or BM&R?
BM&R, I think, is a good choice. Yeah.
BM&R and Nvidia sounds good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Can I have 1 minute? Just 1 minute. I'm just going to show this. And I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just going to show it. This is, well, a couple of words. PayUSD is PayPal stablecoin. Look at the market cap now, just like what it's done in the last week and a half.
And this is from a partnership with Stake or something. What was it?
It's mostly with. Oh, I got to look it up. I always keep forgetting it. But there was like 5 different partnerships that they announced over the last 2 weeks.
It was Spark.
But Spark, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be over 3 billion here in a few weeks.
Okay, we got PayPal out of the way. By the way, highly recommend the people who are looking into PayPal and how cheap it is to seriously look at Shift4, because like the valuation metrics of Shift4 look just as good. The buybacks look just as good. The company looks like it's growing 6 times faster. Just couldn't say that. Or DLO.
Can you answer NeoQuant's question, Tanner?
No. We remembered like Friday that it was not uploaded, and I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna have an episode now. Well, honestly, I went through it. It wasn't even that good of an episode anyways. It was like Steve talking about collectibles and him betting on Alabama or something. I don't know what it was, but so I saved you guys some time, seriously. But BM&R, what the heck is going on with these digital asset treasuries? Tevis, is this now 100% of your portfolio or only 95?
It's getting up there, man. Every week it's a little bit more, and I say to myself, I'm going to stop buying, but then I don't. But I don't know. Like I'm bullish on it, and everything that I see. Like I saw this chart that I put up in a video that I made a couple days ago, and it was the pace of accumulation of all the Ethereum treasuries, and BM&R is just absolutely smoking every single treasury out there, not only in the size of being the #1 Ethereum treasury, but in the pace of accumulation. Like they're buying every single week in, week out. You know, they're almost halfway to their target of that 5% allocation. And Ethereum's been kind of pulling back right now. But don't forget, like you have seasonality in crypto, and October is a very good month for crypto. And I think that if I were Tom Lee, I would try to be taking advantage as much as possible in my accumulation while Ethereum is low, right? And I see why they would raise money when the MNAV is high, why they would be buying so aggressively, because once you get to November and December, if his price targets hold, he's saying that Ethereum is going to double or triple from here in the next 3 months. Now, some of that is of course him talking his book. I get that, but if he actually believes that, then it would be smart for him to be accumulating as much as possible as soon as possible. And that's exactly what he's doing, which makes me believe that that he believes what he's saying, which is bullish.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing is you can actually see, because it's a distributed ledger, public blockchain, they've been buying very aggressively. Of course, we'll get an update on Monday, but they've been buying the dip, and they should. I mean, we're looking here at, the purple here is a price breakdown, slightly higher, or at least it was a couple hours ago, just over $4,000. Not surprising to see a pullback in September for crypto. It's almost expected at this point, but you can see Ethereum crypto treasury companies, the aggregate holding ramping dramatically. And I mean, if you look at, this is the volume of each of these, this purple is BMNR. And nobody, like SBET is on the radar. And then after that, there is no meaningful partner. Now, something that's even more impressive, no, that's trading volume. So yeah, trading volume is one of those things that really does help with the liquidity standpoint. If we look at the market data itself for all of the DATs, we can actually see the total trading volume. You guys can see that, yeah. There's really just two. Like all the rest are way down here. Now, maybe SBET will break out as a third player again, but really when BMNR came on the scene, initially SBET was, doing some things that some shareholders didn't care for as much, and a lot of people like Tom Lee. I think that this is the way that it kind of emerges, that a lot of these times, these plays, we've seen that with MicroStrategy as well. It's been the dominant player. There are other digital asset treasuries that focus on Bitcoin. Of course, BMNR has some of that too, but I think that's just kind of the way it is. And to Tom Lee, like he had said this week, he pointed it out and said, this part of this advantage that actually comes from this is institutions that cannot buy crypto, that want to be exposed to Ethereum. There's a few vehicles that they can do this, but usually they go after the largest, after the most liquid, off of the one that they think is best managed as well, that has a clear strategy. And there's probably some that do some in SBET and ETHZilla, but I mean, a whole lot are going towards BMNR. So they are just, you look at the share price and you might be disappointed, but like ultimately, like you can look at this. They're breaking out here too. It's going to be a long time before they ever catch up, if they ever do, with MicroStrategy. They probably won't, but clear differentiation between those two and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, I think the case for BMNR has gotten stronger and stronger, and the case for SBET, has sort of weakened. Can you guys see my screen? Like, if you just look at the differential in trading volume here, you can see that like there's a 10x basically between SBET and BMNR in daily trading volume. So if your thesis is institutions are going to buy into that Ethereum bull case and start adopting Ethereum treasury companies, well, there's only one that they're going to be choosing predominantly. And what the volume is telling us is that it's BMNR. And why wouldn't they, right? Because look at the holdings, right? Like Roy showed, or I think Tanner or Roy showed a different variation of this chart. But I like this one because it has SBET on there. And yes, SBET is accumulating, but it's nowhere near when you compare the two of them. And so I think that the company that's going to be accumulating the most aggressively and is the largest in the assets underlying that they have is also the company that's going to get the most institutional volume. Not to mention that in the case of BMNR, they also have like an institutional cheerleader in Tom Lee, let's say, who can make those connections and who can sell that bull case and who can talk his book with these Wall Street, big money managers. And I think all of those things are things that SBET is going to struggle to compete with. And so I think that's the reason fundamentally why, I would go after BMNR and not SBET personally.
Yeah. No, I'm holding both right now. I actually just bought both on Friday as well, just because I do think that there's going to be consolidation in the industry. And I'm really liking the management of both, or of SBET as well as BMNR, but SBET also. But yeah, so I think they'll both do well. I think it mainly stems on whether or not you think that Ethereum is going to go up or not. We had some conversations on the back end between shows about whether or not Ethereum's price is being held down, or if it's even, the adoption is going to be what people think it's going to be. One of the things, I think it was, who was it? Andrew Kang's post. I think I got that right. Andrew Kang. That ended up talking about how just because there's trillions of dollars doesn't mean that that's going to translate to large gas fees. If there's, some large capital purchase, like a massive, institutional trade that happens like $200 million in one single stablecoin transaction, that's still only going to pay out like 3 cents worth of gas fees. So, what do you guys think about even Ethereum being, the next big play, let alone the digital asset treasury underneath it? Who's to say that any of them win?
So, like, the only thing I think it's very clear Ethereum is incredibly well positioned and it benefits immensely from stablecoins, and the United States government has a vested interest to make sure stablecoins do very well. So that part's easy. Now, the price of Ethereum, that's harder. You can see on-chain activity. You can see a lot of new projects built. You can see stablecoin volume in Ethereum. All things are going very well, but how do you calculate the price of Ethereum? It's a function of supply and demand. I think with institutions buying a lot of Ethereum, a lot of projects using Ethereum, I believe that price will likely increase. Maybe not to the level that Tom Lee thinks, or there's some wild price targets out there. But I mean, anything can happen. It can pull back. I think that I'm less. I mean, like I'm certain that Ethereum is going to do very well as a project and continue to do so. Institutions, like, it's a perfect chain for all this activity that's happening. I don't, but let me just say this: if Ethereum does what many people think, so let's say not even like this year, but let's say next year, Ethereum gets to 10,000. That's a 1.5x from here. That's great. And all these other Ethereum plays should do well. Now, some of them, as there's consolidation, will end up selling, but they have Ethereum on their, even if they're trading way under their MNAV, doesn't matter in a buyout because the Ethereum is worth something. They could just dump it on the market if they needed to. So, but many of these companies won't want to do that. So I think there'll be multiple winners. I just think there's going to be a big one, and it's probably BMNR. SBET's really interesting too. But yeah, Ethereum, no doubts as far as continued adoption there.
How are you guys playing it, and where do you think that this stock price is going? Because that's another thing. I'm hearing, people wanting to play this till $75. I'm hearing people want to play this till $600.
I mean, you can look at MicroStrategy. Like, that's a nice thing is this isn't the first digital asset treasury we've seen at this size and scale. It's a little bit different because there is some yield with Ethereum and some different things you can do with Ethereum that you couldn't do with Bitcoin. Of course, they do have some Bitcoin too. I think that this will follow a similar trajectory. There will be times, of course, where it trades under MNAV, but I think as long as crypto winter is staved off, that we'll continue to see that above. And that's an asset for them, so they can continue to buy and sell some of their expensive stock for more of the underlying, which increases shareholder value. So it's a 2-year play for me in my swing portfolio. That allows enough time basically to digest a crypto winter if we have one. Might even extend it out. I'm basically, for the most part, it's in my swing portfolio. So that allows me to sell strikes a little bit more aggressively on cash secured puts and covered calls. I actually sold some 52s. I didn't realize that. I was mostly 50s, and I don't think it was a mistake because I see the portfolio that I did it in, but I sold some 52s. So I own a few hundred more shares of BMNR too. So I'll sell covered calls on the other side, and I'll use the premiums to buy Ethereum and also to buy more BMNR stock, just shares. So that's how I'm playing it. That's what I'm looking at. Now, if over the next 2 years we see, again, this is like effectively a new company over the last few months because they did this massive pivot like a lot of these treasuries. But if we see continued execution, that they're able to use the premium of their stock, that it continues to trade like that, to buy more of the underlying, they execute with excellence. Their plan is playing out very well. Communication continues to be clear. They continue to be transparent. I could just make this like I did with Robinhood and just say, you know what, this part's going to be a long position. I'm just going to hold it. But I think Ethereum's the easier hold, just like as a permanent hold. We'll have to see.
Whenever you look at the multiple on MNAV versus the actual market cap of these stocks, where do you think that this could possibly get to? That's another big question that investors have. It's like, does this or should this trade anywhere near MicroStrategy? Or as Tom Lee says, it should probably be, multiples higher because of the speed at which they are acquiring new tokens. So how
I
do
mean,
you?
there's a scenario where they surpass MicroStrategy, but I would take the under on that. Michael Saylor and the people that are buying that are pretty good at what they do, and barring like the only scenario where I do see that happening is if we see, and we have seen this in the past with crypto, it can be funny that way, where Bitcoin just stays stuck in a range and Ethereum just takes off. I remember this happening in 2021 very clearly. Of course, here recently over the last few months, we've seen the same thing. But barring, like a tripling of Ethereum at the same time as Bitcoin just sits there, probably not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that we don't see a lot of appreciation to the upside. What about for you, Tanner? Like, where are you looking at? Is this a swing? Is this long term? Are you looking at to exit at 75?
I am of the belief that it could become much larger. I mean, like 10x plus on its potential if Ethereum actually does what we all hope it to do. But I'm not allowing it to take over such a large position in my portfolio because I could be wrong. It's such a fast changing market. So yeah, like I'm not going to let this get to 10% of my portfolio or anything crazy like this. I'm just going to single digit purchases or like as a percentage of my portfolio. And I'm such a big believer in blockchain. I just don't know if it needs to be on Ethereum versus if companies own level 1 blockchains are going to be successful. If SoFi is making their own, if Stripe is making their own, and these sort of things.
Yeah, like not to pivot like fully into that topic necessarily, but I think internally, companies own level 1 projects, and for certain use cases can be successful. But you're with any institution that wants to build on something, I think most would much rather do that on something that is highly decentralized, that has a long history. You have an understanding of very much what they stand for, what it is, how it works, the 100% uptime, and to not put all your eggs in a basket of, or at least a lot of them, in a company's hands. Instead, it's the decentralization is one of those things that really appeal to Ethereum, which ironically, if BM&R does what I think it does, Ethereum will be a little bit more centralized. But I mean, owning 5% and it, effectively, depending on how they stake it, being centralized there, it still doesn't shift it too much. It's still very decentralized. So we'll have to see though. Like Stripe, if anyone can do it, it's Stripe. I think even for them, it just internally could be good, but externally we'll have to see. Skeptical.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I do think could work well is if companies like this one, if you throw this up with SBET, end up partnering with on layer 2 chains or creating their own layer 2 chain as well. And so we saw SBET here saying that they're issuing tokenized SBET shares directly on the Ethereum blockchain. And they'll be the first public company to do so. Now, it didn't move the needle for them at all. Probably shouldn't, but it just, I don't know. It's really cool, I thought, technologically, that they're doing that. So,
can we go on to Nvidia? Did you guys see the conversation with Jensen Huang and Brad Gerstner?
No.
Oh, wow. This was probably the best podcast I've seen from Jensen in a long time, where he talked about the reasoning for doing the $100 billion deal with OpenAI. He talked about, the impact on China sales. He talked about ASICs. He completely tore apart other companies' chances against Nvidia. But I'm surprised you guys haven't heard it. So please go check that out.
Yeah,
regardless, he is extremely bullish on OpenAI, calls it, says it's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar business. I also think that's going to be the case. Whether it's deserving of that valuation today, I'm not suggesting that, but if you just look at the rate of change in that company, their ability to obtain top talent and keep customers and bring on enterprises, I think it's hard to value them anything other than a complete smashing success. They are number one in artificial intelligence.
Oh yeah.
That said, there's been a lot of talk about many, super investors in stuff bringing up whether or not this is not maybe a bubble, but maybe an over amount of spend for hopeful future growth, while maybe not actually like maybe some destruction of capital is what we are going to see.
Did you see? I saw this post. Sorry, you were going to say.
Just what I was going to finish on is just that regardless of who ends up winning, Nvidia is the picks and shovels play. They are guaranteed to win as long as companies continue that spend. There will be no destruction of capital on their side.
Yeah, I think that's like a lot of people, when I mentioned that I was investing in Nvidia initially, and then of course it's done very well ever since the tariff stuff in April. Thanks to you pounding the table, Tanner, by the way, is why I invested. So thank you again. I was looking at Nvidia not as like it's going to grow, the stock will go up like 80% the next year or anything. It could, but like over the next 5 years, I think it'll be a pretty decent outperformance over the S&P 500, but with a lot more safety than what's mostly in my portfolio, a lot of high beta names. So like it's an anchor stock. It's one of those where it's like easy to see AI is real. I know there's some posts very early on about like actually related to Chris Patel's argument regarding overbuilding. We're not anywhere near there yet. There is real demand, ramping demand, real revenue, a lot of ROI savings internally. There's a lot of failed projects too. It's not uncommon with projects like this too. But like the great thing is with their positioning, no matter who wins, Nvidia wins. Even like to the extent of like the Intel partnership, going to the x86 infrastructure, architecture rather. Like it just Nvidia period wins. Do they care if OpenAI wins or Claude dominate? Like sure, they're invested in OpenAI, but like ultimately they win no matter who wins. So it's one of those great things about holding the stock, and it's easy to buy more and add more. And I need to actually just start a DCA in it, just a few shares a week or something.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Tevis?
Well, I mean, like I agree on Nvidia being the picks and shovels play, and I agree that they're going to be like a long tail winner. I think the question is just how much is pulled forward and how much, like this is the question that people have been having, and we've been having for Nvidia, right, with regards to demand. And I can see you smiling. I saw this post by Chris.
Nothing is pulled forward. What is pulled forward? What is pulled forward?
How long can they sustainably keep up their growth rates, man? When they come into tough comparable quarters, they're gonna have a pullback because they start to have a pullback from 185 or whatnot, and now they're doing all this like circular spending with OpenAI and Oracle and all of this. I'm not saying don't invest in Nvidia. I'm not saying it's a bad company. I'm just saying that like I just think it's like the poster child for this market that we're in, and for like the AI hype wave. And
everyone's talking about this circular spending thing. I need someone to explain it to me.
The bears basically say it's.
I know what the bears are saying, but okay. Like, do you agree with it?
No, absolutely not.
But Tevis just said there's circular spending, so he believes it.
Okay, so I guess
just because it exists doesn't mean I didn't have an opinion on whether I agree with it or not.
Does it exist?
Absolutely, dude, it's a fact. Like
what is the fact?
I pay you money for services. That leaves my income statement. You pay Roy pays me, and then I essentially like that money just circulates between us. And you could get to a point where it's just you're buying more than you need.
Okay, so you're saying me, Tevis, and Roy. Explain it in Nvidia terms. Who's Nvidia paying? Complete the cycle for me.
Well, I'm not sure. So Nvidia is because I don't own Nvidia. I don't follow Nvidia. The news is that Nvidia paid $100 billion to OpenAI. Is this correct?
They bought
Or is it the other way around?
or will buy $100 billion worth of their stock.
Nvidia is going to buy $100 worth of OpenAI stock.
100 billion, yeah. They're not giving them money. There's not a free loan. They're getting equity in OpenAI.
That's different. And then Oracle is buying 10 billion of Nvidia products, or 100 billion of Nvidia products.
Well, yeah. So this was the whole thing that people said online, is that Nvidia is going to give a bunch of money to OpenAI. OpenAI is going to take that money, go to Oracle. Oracle's going to go to Nvidia and buy. Oracle's going to go to Nvidia and buy chips, and then use those chips to help with OpenAI. The thing is like,
economy.
Yeah,
That's an economy.
That's an economy. Nvidia is selling their chips. They bought stock. They're not giving them money and going, hey, go give this to someone. That's not what happened. They're buying stock in the company. I am buying Sofi stock, and Sofi's giving me no money. You know, if I go to OpenAI and say, hey, I want shares in your business, and then they go, Tanner, but we would love to buy your course, I would be like, sick. Like, not only do I get OpenAI shares, but they're giving me back my money. Like, that's even better.
I don't think OpenAI has anything that they, like Nvidia, I don't think OpenAI has any product that they would feasibly sell Nvidia. And so, like,
exactly. It's the other way around.
If Nvidia wanted to give OpenAI money, buying shares would be the only way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're buying a company that they think, and I think, will be worth trillions of dollars in the future.
And if it's not?
And if it's not, then it's an investment. Is Intel not going to go up? Is CoreWeave not going to go up? Is Nebius? Is like they have, ARM? They've got investments all over the place. That's what they do. That's their venture arm. You know.
So regarding this, like I meant what I said. Like, this is an economy. It's on the micro scale instead of macro scale, but that's how the economy works. It's how it's worked historically. When it doesn't work is when you have unequal partners there. So like Palantir back in 2020, 2021, that they invested heavily in a bunch of SPACs. Now, I think that helped them on the back end with a lot of their technology, but they basically said, okay, we're going to buy a share in your company, or buy a bunch of shares in the company, give you money. You're going to use that money specifically for Palantir products. But the big difference is these were very speculative SPACs that were burning a ton of money, not really growing that fast, except for, on a relative size. And then they hit some huge macro tailwinds. OpenAI, I would argue, is very differentiated, even as, I've given some pushback on some of the valuation stuff, but it's a real legitimate business, a clear leader in LLMs right now. And it looks like that they'll continue to be so. Sam Altman, there's some odd things about him, but it's hard to not see him steer OpenAI, in a continued positive way. And so this is one of those ways, if you throw this up real quick, Tanner, Nvidia wasn't at the point where it's like, oh man, they have to start using this cash. But okay, so the red is the debt, and then you can see cash and bonds here. So effectively, this massive spike here of 56 million, billion, not million dollars that is sitting there. Yes, they have bonds. Yes, they're collecting interest from this. But for Nvidia, it makes a lot more sense to do investments like this, investments in Intel as well. They need to use this cash to return shareholder value. So this is, I think, a very effective way to do that. And like their revenue, you mentioned that before. Like, yeah, the comps get harder, but the comps, like even here, that's what people are saying. Quarter 2, 2023, quarter 3, they're like, oh man, this is great right now, but just wait for next year's comps. Well, we did, and they blew it out of the water. So, and this eventually, like, will start slowing down. Like, I'm not arguing that, but I think that we're a long way, especially from what you see from the hyperscalers and creative deals like this as well. And this isn't even including China at all. So we're so early in this. Like, a lot of people think this is mid or late stage. I don't think so. I think that we have years and years and years left of ridiculous demand. I think the one thing that does constrain this is, of course, energy. And we're not at the point now where it's like they have to be like super creative in what they do, but man, there needs to be a lot more energy infrastructure built out. And so if there's a lag between when that actually gets built out, it could be that, you know, some of these projects just have to wait and pause. And that might be where you see Nvidia kind of hit some headwinds and not accelerate quite as fast. Doesn't mean the demand isn't there. It just means that there's a bit of a pause in the market. If there's a big pullback in the stock, that's when I go in even heavier.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, okay, granted, sure, it's an economy, but like, I just think that, and again, I'm just trying to argue, like, just trying to think about the other side of this, right?
Yeah.
I'm not bearish on Nvidia, nor am I bearish on OpenAI, nor do I think that the AI sort of hype cycle or the AI wave, the AI paradigm shift, whatever the hell you want to call it, is close to concluding. But like, if
I'll beat you right back. Okay, just 1 second.
If Nvidia, Roy, is buying $100 billion of OpenAI stock, and then OpenAI is then turning right around and saying, "Hey, we're going to take 90 billion of those 100 billion that we just sold shares to, got proceeds from the sale of shares to Nvidia, and then we're going to buy Nvidia chips with them." Then if anything happens to either of those companies, then that's going to be value destructive for shareholders. But obviously, it's a bet that both of those companies will continue increasing in value. OpenAI is not, expected to be profitable for the next several years. It's going to need hundreds more billions in financing and investment to get to that place. I think Sam Altman was saying like 2030 or whatever, they're looking at profitability. And so like, if something happens where OpenAI is not as popular as they initially thought, or they lose their dominance in terms of that market, then their valuation gets hit. Nvidia is going to get hit as a result. Or if something happens with Nvidia, then vice versa, right? So like, that's what I mean around the circular reasoning behind these investments.
Sorry, I just had to go throw my hand through my drywall. What you were saying was pissing me off.
It's a collective bet that both of them are going to go up.
No, I had to let my dog out real quick. Roy, can you respond to that? I didn't hear a word he said. Sorry. You're muted. The AI market is continuously climbing at a 50% rate. Okay, so I don't know what you said, but we're growing. Go ahead, Roy.
So, yeah, in essence, it's just we'll have to see how it actually plays out, and I think we'll have to agree to disagree on this one. But I think the most likely slowdown is maybe a couple years out when they hit that energy choke point, and they have to. Companies are just forced to at that point, and I think that's the earliest that we see, barring some crazy macroeconomic event. They're positioned so well, like they're basically a strategic asset of the United States as well. So even in the event of crazy macroeconomic stuff, they're still positioned very well. And as they do these sort of investments in Intel and OpenAI as well, like they'll be beneficial. It's not out of altruism. They'll benefit from those too, and they'll return shareholder value. So
yeah, they're not being nice to the ecosystem. They're being the biggest player and taking share in all of those companies. So,
dude, like OpenAI basically bought a ton of Nvidia products with stock. Is essentially what happened.
But if they didn't do it that way, they could have just done another funding round. People,
they're not even public yet. Like, they haven't even tapped like the largest pool of liquidity.
Sure. No, I'm not saying it's like a bad move or a good move. I'm just saying like it's not something that is unique that you're seeing now. It's like they're buying product and giving stock as a result.
Well, okay. So first off, the amount of stock or the amount of chips that they end up purchasing essentially is worth about $350 billion worth of chips, that Nvidia also, a part of that, gave them $100 billion. So they still have to front $250 billion worth of cash. Nvidia is clean on the margin for these chips. And when did stock not become a viable form of payment? When does that not become cash? They can go to the market tomorrow.
when you have a company that's like 3 years old and it's valued at like $500 billion.
When's the you name me in the business world records that OpenAI does not have already? I mean, across the board, they've broken every single statistic for the fastest growing companies, most profitable. Their goal for this year was to make like $12.5 billion in revenue. And I think they did like, or they're on track to do like 20 plus. Like, I mean, it's insane how fast this company grew. 20 plus billion. Like, they're about to make as much revenue as SoFi stock is worth. And they started a few years ago,
No, I get it. Again, like, there you go in the comments. I'm not arguing it's a bad company.
You hate
I'm just
AI.
saying,
that's what you're saying. You hate it.
Why do you hate America?
Yeah,
Like,
why do
come
you
on.
hate America? That's good.
It's just like it's a crazy world that we're living in, man. Like, you have this company, it pops up in 2 years, it's valued at multi-$100 billion valuation, and all of a sudden it's as good as gold. And
They have
I'm
700
like,
million monthly or weekly actives.
dude, Tanner, stop freaking jumping down my throat just because I'm
going
calling out
to,
a fact.
bro.
I'm not calling out an opinion. God forbid I call it an opinion. I'm gonna like, I'm already being called a Luddite for being
My net worth
it's kind of a crazy growth.
My net worth is riding on this name. I can't handle any slander.
There you go.
I mean, like, to your point, Tevis, like, is the valuation of OpenAI like expensive? Yes. And kudos to them. They sold, I think, overpriced stock, or they will be selling it to Nvidia.
Would you look at that? Would you look at that?
But
wait, what? What
like,
did you say?
But it's like, dude, I don't like, just because OpenAI can sell stock and tomorrow it can be worth it's like they're not even a freaking public company, dude. Like, tomorrow they can sell stock for $1 trillion valuation just because somebody's dumb enough to fucking buy it. Then it's like, oh my God, OpenAI is worth $1 trillion. Like, I don't know. I think.
Do you remember whenever
Yeah.
Microsoft bought like 49% of the business at the time for $50 billion valuation? They're like, $50 billion for a startup, and everyone deep belly laughs. Okay.
yeah,
Deep belly laughs.
and it was
And they
genius.
go, oh, and you're going to give them, credits for your Azure and everything. Who's laughing now? Satya's laughing to the bank. Okay.
Sure.
Absolutely multiplied his earnings here. And I think that there's a bunch of people, including us, who are not in this industry and are not seeing the deep products that are being developed that are going, oh, you know what? This is high historically for the products that have ever been created. When has there ever been a product that could expand GDP per capita because they're removing the per capita? You can have.
I get what you're saying, and like,
I know, but then you're arguing on the other side.
No, I'm trying to be rational, and you're like, you're literally hovering, like levitating off of your chair. You're so excited about this, and I'm just trying to calm the euphoria.
The greatest historical technology we've ever seen. There's nothing even remotely close. And then I see the market disrespect, not pull forward, completely disrespect the growth of Nvidia. It should be a $6 trillion company today.
Dude, I'm sure when Microsoft bought a stake in the company at $50 billion, people were laughing, saying it was idiotic. And now they're not laughing. And I'm sure today people are buying a stake at $500 billion and people are laughing. And maybe one day, next year at this point, it's going to be $5 trillion and people won't be laughing. But then there's going to be some jackass that's going to buy a stake at $5 trillion. Like, at some point, you're going to find where the outer bounds of this AI TAM is, and you're going to be like, oh, well, Tevis, you're an idiot because there is no TAM because it removes the P in GDP, like all this. But I don't know. I just think that, like, there is, we go back to this AI debate that we've been having for years.
The P in GDP is product, but
sure. The point, Tanner, is, I don't know. I think it's worth having a more rational conversation as opposed to like, oh, you're just an idiot because
I'm not
this
calling
is
you
not
an idiot.
immediately
I'm
bullish.
getting my frustrations out because you're talking. You know what? You don't even look like Tevis right now. You look like the market, and I'm pissed at the market. Okay, I'm not pissed at a good friend of mine. I love you, Tevis, but you're talking a whole lot like the market right now. And this, I don't like the disrespect that OpenAI gets. I don't like the disrespect that AI gets or Nvidia. And
Dude, like, so, like Austin, I know you're joking because you have like the hooks. You're trying to bait me, but like you said, Austin's like Tevis just doesn't understand AI. Cool. In a year or 2 years, if God forbid, if ChatGPT loses all of their market share to Grok or whoever else, and and OpenAI is suddenly not worth $500 billion anymore, then you can be like, oh my God. Like if
I
there's a
mean, dude,
clear,
you got a better chance of saying like, oh, if Lisa Su ends up killing Jensen Huang. I mean, there's all these types of like, it's not going to happen.
so sorry, what's not going to happen? ChatGPT won't lose market share to other LLMs?
Oh, I mean, maybe lose market share. You're saying go to zero. It's not going to happen.
No, not
The company is around to
zero, but
stay.
like I'm saying, what is the probability, Tanner, that it's not worth $500 billion? You say zero.
No, I don't say zero, but I think it's $100 billion to Nvidia is nothing now. Like, I mean, they're just sitting
Yeah.
on so much cash. What do you want them to do? Buy T-bills? Like,
I think that's
Does that seem
maybe-
normal?
So throw this up one more time because I think we need to see this. It's they have a massive amount of increasing cash, only so much that they can do internally, and so that's a lot of times when companies start their own ventures fund. You can think of it like this, and this is not like them just saying we're going to get shares of OpenAI and then we'll give you GPUs. No, if you look at the way that that deal is structured and the pricing on these deals as well, they make a lot of money from OpenAI in actual real revenue, but they're also just buying a share. So if Nvidia instead was like back here, where they had debt, but they had about 5 billion more than that, and they were doing something like this, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Or if this was reversed, if they're massively in debt, they had just a little bit of cash, I'd be like, this is a big mistake. But I think this is a creative and a creative way to use a ridiculous amount of capital that they have. I'd rather see them pivot away some from bonds just because the yield on those over time is going to go down. So do something that might actually deliver more value and also helps one of your major partners, which is OpenAI. Their success is your success. No, you don't need them to be successful to be a success. You already are, but it certainly helps. So it's a win-win.
Can I ask a question? And I genuinely don't know the answer to this. If Nvidia invests in OpenAI and OpenAI stock appreciates because they do another round or whatever, does Nvidia then report that on their earnings as like, hey, the stock appreciated and that counts towards their growth? Because I'm imagining a scenario where Nvidia, like, they can't keep up 50+% growth rates forever.
no,
Like,
it won't count towards their growth until they sell it. If they appreciate
so the paper gains don't count.
It counts. It shows up in the balance sheet. It shows up. I would have to look back, but I remember
it's not going to
Amazon
pop up as
invested in
earnings.
Ford as well, massively in Rivian, and right after the IPO, like they did very well in part because of their Rivian investment. But I don't remember. I'd have to look. It's been a while since I've had one of these situations. So
Isn't that because they trimmed it, similar with Google trimming SpaceX shares?
I think that's right, but it's been long enough. I need to go back and look. I don't want to say and be wrong. By the way, Austin, thank you for the $5. Appreciate you.
Yeah, there was a question from Wen Chen. I will get to it as we wrap up. I just want to keep on NVIDIA while we're here. I think, you know, I am bullish on artificial intelligence. It's just where can I not be bullish? Like where are all the robots driving around? Where are the self-driving vehicles? Where are all the robots? How much agentic AI is in use today? I would say it's, you know, 0.00001% of where it'll be 10 years from now. Because I don't know. I think there's going to be entire economies, like the size of the amount of money and operations that are running on AI will be bigger than the economies that we have in the world today 20 years from now. Less than that. So the AI market's growing at a 50+% clip right now. Jensen Huang has probably the greatest forecast for the future of that industry, better than anyone else in the world, because he is the person that Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and all of these people are coming to first. If he's bullish, it's hard for me not to be bullish. And honestly, I am a little optimistic. I think so. People are so under optimistic. It actually, like, it makes me want to not invest in any other industry, because blockchain or artificial intelligence is just so much different than anything else that we're doing. I think growth investing will overtake value investing for the next multiple decades. Should I go on to the Wen Chen question now?
Well, can you throw this up real quick? And just one thing I forgot to mention on Ethereum, but it's very relevant. It's actually huge. Global banking giant Swift ignites mainstream adoption with Ethereum stablecoin. Now, this is just a test itself, but and this is using Linea, which is a level 2, created, I believe, by Joseph Lubin, who is a co-creator of Ethereum. But this is pretty shocking. USDC was something that was thought of as partly able to do this. XRP as well. Ethereum.
Speaking of Ethereum, Wen Chen, thank you so much for the donation here. But how Ethereum is to be monetized, can you guys explain? Can it increase fees? Kang's argument was that it doesn't make money if even if it provides services. Well, it definitely does. His argument was that the stablecoin market, from my understanding, is not going to be super big in America, and international markets have already adopted it a ton, and that the large capital market appreciation is not going to make much of a difference because the actual number of transactions is not going to be that big. Even though it's a ton of dollars being moved, it's not going to be a ton of transactions. I was just going to say, the part that I would differ is that I think there's going to be new markets that end up being created because of cryptocurrency. Like, for example, microtransactions. The 402 protocol that allows for AI to, go to paywalls, like websites to scrape data off of them. But maybe there's a new way to actually say, hey, hold on right there, AI bot. Can you pay us 5 cents before you can access this page? Cloudflare's working on this. Coinbase is working on this. Google's working on this. There's many companies trying to do this. That, I think, is going to bring in hundreds of billions of transactions, tons, because there'll be tons of bots scraping the internet all the time.
Yeah, when you have a company like Cloudflare, which is an amazing company, say, maybe we need to create our own stable coin, and you're seeing it with all sorts of different companies, a dramatic amount of them, it's showing that there's something real here. This isn't NFTs. This provides real value. And to your point, Tanner, there are things that in the past, just because of the way that the monetary system worked with the previous payment rails, that you could not do just because of cost, because of speed as well. Now you can. And we can see, like, if you throw this up, this is the stablecoin market cap. It's not like tapering off and slowing down. Instead, it's actually accelerating. If you look at on-chain metrics for many of these stablecoins as well, they're increasing. Some are more market cap than actually being used, and I'm going to go through those. But it's like most of what stablecoins are used right now is just Web3. It's crypto-related stuff, and there will continue to be a lot of use for that. But honestly, in a space like payments, that's a place, well, it'll take time to build out. It's not going to be nearly as disruptive as people think with all the old legacy payment companies, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Shift4, and so forth. These are all working already with crypto. In many cases, they already have their own stablecoin that they're using. And so when stablecoins make the jump and actually go mainstream in terms of payments, this is going to look, like over here. Like, seriously, there is going to be an immense acceleration over the next 5 years, and we're just at the beginning of it.
Why were you talking crap, Tevis? What are you gonna fight me on?
I don't think you want to start this one.
Let's go.
If you scroll up.
Well, I saw this comment from Zach, which is absolutely not what I said. I didn't say Tesla.
Go to the comment. Go to the comment.
I don't know
You
which
heard
one.
it here first. Nvidia is less than
I did not say
1%
that.
of its
I said-
market cap potential.
I
So
didn't say
you're
that at
talking
all.
about the potential of Nvidia being 430 trillion,
But
Tanner,
I'm actively
when the
telling you that's
total
not what I said.
the total market cap of global assets is half of that.
I'm actively. You're
Nvidia.
just lying to my face. I'm actively telling you that's not what I believe. I'm,
What do you believe?
I'm actively saying this.
What do
However,
you
Even
believe?
count here.
I said AI. So whenever a chip that goes from Hopper to Blackwell 30x's in potential, that doesn't mean that Nvidia needs to 30x. So if AI is going to 100x, 1000x, that doesn't mean Nvidia 100x, 1000x's. It means they
So
need to
you
create
think-
chips that are hundreds of thousands of times more powerful.
You think AI is 1% of its potential right now? Less than 1% of its potential?
Way less than 1%. Way less. Think about 1996 saying that the internet is at its full potential at 1996 and it'll be at its potential by 1999. We're pre the boom of it being even used right now. Agentic AI, how much do you use agentic AI right now? Tell me one use
So-
case.
AI right now is about $19 trillion.
You're talking in market cap.
Yeah.
I'm talking in token generation.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, okay.
I'm saying the
That's
actual
fine.
use case of artificial intelligence. I'm not talking in market cap.
Oh, okay, that's useful.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense. I won't fight you on that one. But like, I
Yeah,
think
I'm
token
not saying
generation.
Nvidia is going to 100x from here. I'm saying the actual use cases of artificial intelligence are going to way more than 100x from here. Way more.
Yeah,
Like-
there are use cases for AI that nobody on the planet has even considered yet.
Not even considered. Not even
people are
considered.
going to build on that. I get it, but like, of course, that's going to be like a very long tail thing as well.
Yes.
Like it's not. It's
This is
gonna be
over the
like
next 20 years. I'm
decades.
talking, if we're in 1996 or 1997 right now, people are starting to talk about the frothiness in the bubble. Think about the internet back then to where it is today. I mean, it's not even the same picture, you know? But I am a believer that agentic AI, that robotics is going to completely change everything. And then the people in chat that are saying like, well, I'm pretty sure Amazon has robots in there. I got to shake you guys. I got to grab you and shake you. Okay. That is this. You talked about one company. Okay. I'm talking about every single person having a robot. Everyone. Multiples.
Yeah, or like 4 robots.
Yeah. Or 4. Right. And then the corporations having a ton. And then on top of that, the processes that are still being done manually is insane. The amount of truck drivers and all of these things that are doing deliveries by person rather than.
I think you're still going to get to a place where, like, I say still, you eventually, after a long time, you're going to get to a place where raw materials is the limiting constraint factor. Like you're not going to have the raw materials to build all of them, but you will probably have the demand for infinite robots because they're all value accretive given how multi-purpose they're going to be.
Doing what? Your laundry? See, the vision of you guys it blows me away. Yes, your laundry.
Anything
Yeah.
they can do
Also your
anything
job.
at some point that you don't want to do, which is usually a lot of things.
Anything.
Yeah, they can do like they can do your laundry, they can do your driving, they can do your cooking, they can do your job, they can do your wife, they can do everything basically.
Coddle your baby. These are replacing nannies one day.
Taxes.
And this is
Massage.
And yes, they will replace your girlfriend, BL. And this is the quality conversations that you guys can expect in a typical after hours show.
Yeah,
so
this is what they're all like.
Yeah, pretty much, honestly. Most tech related type of stuff, far off stuff, rarely fintech. But yeah,
the audience
had
is
some really good
catching
ones.
the wife joke.
Trust it with your haircut. If I keep having streams like this, I'm not going to have any more hair to cut. So it's not going to matter. But we are going full Wall-E. And by that point, you're going to tell me that the company's market caps are the same as here to then? Like, come on. I don't know. And if energy is the bottleneck, you're going to need the chips that provide the best performance per watt, and there's nothing even close to Nvidia. Jensen Huang said on that Brad Gerstner chip, if our competitors gave away our chips or gave away their chips for free, they still wouldn't take them, because the cost to actually run those chips is more expensive for an opportunity cost basis than buying Nvidia, because they're 30x more powerful. Pretty crazy. Also, this guy that's telling me to calm down, I will not. This is way better than the start of the thing, talking about Anthony Noto,
Tanner,
and Jeremy Rischel. I'm having way more fun now.
how much Tylenol did you take at the beginning of this stream?
Some Tylenol.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap there? It's currently 3 a.m. for me.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. And bye for now.